Rhiannon and Sorrell. Okay. Hello, Amia. This is Jennifer Jenkins coming to you from Tucson, Arizona. Sorry I won't be able to join you today, but I'm going to be there digitally, and we'll see how the session goes. I'm thrilled to be part of the Stewardship of Indigenous Materials stream and to be able to bring this project to you this year as it's come to fruition. My project partners here are Melissa Dollman, Rhiannon Sorrell, and Littleben, and they'll be talking to you in a few minutes about some of the other issues related to this project. I want to thank the organizers of the stream, Jennifer O'Neill and company, and Amia for supporting it, and Melissa for arguing successfully for this stream, and of course the whole Association of Women Image Archivists, my teachers and mentors and gurus, for supporting this work, which has been a long time coming. So let's get started. I'd like to acknowledge that AMIA are convening on the ancestral homeland of the Piscataway people in Baltimore City, and to pay respect to the elders past and present citizens of the Piscataway Indian Nation, and to also acknowledge the Lumbee people, about whom you heard and from whom you heard yesterday morning at the plenary. I come to you from the traditional ancestral homeland of the Tohono O'odham people of southern Arizona and northern Sonora, Mexico, and I want to pay respect to the elders and present citizens of that nation, as well as the Yaqui and Noronha present-day inhabitants adjacent to Tohono O'odham lands. This project began really at Northeast Historic Film in Bucksport, Maine, at one of the summer symposiums on representations of indigenous communities in non-theatrical film. There I met Fred McDonald, who was presenting on his site, American Indian Film Gallery, and subsequently he put out a call to anyone to take the collection and steward it, and I wrote a proposal, and a year later, in 2011, the project came to us. As Fred, who had collected these films over many, many years, as Fred described it, the AIFG was an online collection of films related to Native Americans, and I don't have to explain to this audience what that entailed. Travel films, cultural studies films, ethnographic films, corporate advertising, educational documentaries, and a lot of personal testimonies. So what we have basically is sponsored industrial and educational films from the mid-century, the golden age of 16mm Kodachrome filmmaking, and it's quite a collection, as I'll discuss in a minute. So Fred donated the film elements, the original film elements, to the Library of Congress and sent the rights and assets for the digital site to us at the University of Arizona in 2011. What we received was 3 boxes of 100-year DVDs, and that was in 2011. So, as you might expect, those 100-year DVDs are starting to fail, and that situation created a certain degree of urgency. But first, I should say that the DVDs were rescanned for flash video in 2012 and put up in what now looks really like a legacy site, the American Indian Film Gallery at the University of Arizona, aifg.arizona.edu. The collection is more than 460 films and videos, and all of them are up there on the Legacy site. The geographical range is from Nunavut on the Arctic Circle all the way to Tierra del Fuego at the tip of South America, and the representation is quite broad. The films are in public domain, so there's no issue with copyright restrictions. And so what we're left with is the question of what to do with these vintage films. As I said before, this is the golden age of 16 millimeter Kodachrome, so we have gorgeous visuals and many photographers who cut their teeth in World War II and were really skilled camera people. The problem is that the audio is often from not the golden age, but the dark age of narration, and reflects the sentiments and beliefs of the mainstream culture at the time. So here's this dilemma. What do we do with beautiful filmmaking with quite appalling and hideous narration? So that's what led us to this next phase of the project. Well, the obvious solution was to preserve the video or the visual image and do something about these audio tracks. So we came up with this idea of tribe sourcing. And tribe sourcing is like crowdsourcing. It seeks broad community input on cultural records. It locates the source of information in the community, provides an insider's counter narrative, determines what information is public and private, and enacts active decolonization of the archive. So essentially what we're doing is taking the films back into the communities where they were made and inviting tribal members and cultural experts from within the tribe and within the culture to record new narrations for the old films. So it's a kind of renovation of the films at the same time that it provides a counter narrative to some of that really startling mid-century narration from the voice of God. So we've done a couple of proof of concept examples, and I applied for an NEH Humanities Collections and Reference Resources grant in 2016 and didn't get it, and then did get funded in 2017. And it was just for a very small portion of the whole collection to remaster 60 Southwestern films and return to those communities to record native counter narratives. And what we're showing you today and talking about is the Navajo portion that we were able to record up at Saley on the Navajo Nation at Diné College. And you'll hear more about that in a moment. The project is guided by the Protocols for Native American Archival Material. The protocols are this incredible document. If you haven't encountered it before, I urge you to go to it. The URL there is at the bottom of the screen. And you can also just type in protocols and nau.edu, and you will get the site at my sister college in northern Arizona. The protocols, which were developed a few years ago now by a group of Native and First Nations archivists, provide a pathway and a lot of guidance in dealing with ancestral and present-day Native material in archives. And they're not limited to, nor are they focused on audiovisual material. The protocols have to do with everything from ancestral corn to bison hide garments to pollen bundles and everything in between, anything that you can possibly think of. And the important spirit of the protocols is that you need to consult constantly with tribal partners. This should be a consultative interactive, and respectful relationship when dealing with material. And, I would just add that I think that you should treat everything as though it's culturally sensitive, because you never know when it is. If you're not a member of the culture, you don't know what the boundaries of cultural sensitivity are. So treat everything as culturally sensitive and consult constantly with your Native partners. And Jen O'Neill is here at the conference, and she'll, I'm sure, be happy to answer questions about the protocols and give you advice if you need any. So please go to the protocols. They're the guiding spirit for our project. And now let's see what we actually came up with. So just quickly, best practices: identify the material, consult, repatriate or repurpose. That's sort of the plan of attack for these audiovisual materials in Indian country. We are using Mukurtu, a content management system that allows controlled access by the cultural group, and it controls for communities of practice. So the community can set the access level. There are certain things that shouldn't be talked about by women at certain times of the month. There are certain things that shouldn't be shown to or accessed by children before they've been initiated. Those kinds of controls can be put in place in Mukurtu and access controlled. So our new site is at tribesourcingfilm.com, and we'll see it in a sec. The project as a whole, and the Diné section in particular, has both primary and collateral content areas, and I just wanted to run through these really quickly. The primary are what you might obviously expect from mid-century educational and sponsored films: native lifeways in the Americas, crafts, documenting discontinued or waning art forms, storytelling, visual and oral narrative. The collateral issues that are associated are, of course, those of representation and identity. Who controls the camera? Image sovereignty, self-representation and policy, colonial and post-colonial analyses, land stewardship and climate change, archival practice and collection management, and of course decolonizing representation and decolonizing the archive. Just to loop back quickly to land stewardship and climate change, because these films are coming up on 70 years old, they provide, or at least the oldest of them are 70 years old, they provide a really nice index of how the landscape has changed over the last almost 100 years due to whatever kinds of land uses and climate change have occurred. So that's a collateral use that we hadn't really thought about, but it exists, and certainly when people are narrating, they notice those kinds of differences. So this is just a series of non-interactive, flat screen captures, call-outs from arts and crafts of the Southwest Indians. And this was one of our first proof of concept narrations that Rhiannon did way back when. And you see the film and its metadata in the Mukurtu site, and the opening pane of the metadata on the film. This is new metadata from the new scan done for us by Bob Nickel at Ping-Pong Media in Tucson, and thank you to the NEH. So we have the original film, and then as we move to the next pane, we'll see what the original narration is like, and then what the native narration is like. So here you can see the original voice of God, right, the mid-century white male narrator that we remember from all those educational films. And, sounding quite stentorian. Once a proud nation of hunters and warriors, now the poorest of the Southwest Indians, the Navajo people live in a barren and arid reservation of 1,000 square miles. The terms I've bolded here are ones that kind of call out the attitude from that period. So we'll put that up and then hear from Rhiannon. As you see, the re-narration begins with a greeting in the Diné language. Yeah, this is Rhiannon and Sorrell at Saley, Arizona, and I'm viewing the film Arts and Crafts of the Southwest Indians, Part 1, the Navajo. I won't read you all of this because Rhiannon's sitting right there, and that's but I want to point out, just in this same paragraph of the opening sequence, we get native language use, we have a named narrator, who is female, and a location. And she's identifying a specific film location, and she'll later identify specific people, as well as sharing cultural information about the function of the different dwelling places and the trading posts that we see here in the film. So we get a vastly different kind of audio track with a different kind of information that is inside, accurate, and comes from within the people. And this is all about information sovereignty, right? It's about people getting to decide what is said about them from within the culture, not by some random outside voice of God. I want to acknowledge our wonderful project interns over the years, and there's Rhiannon front and center, and the various other folks who've worked on it, including an international student from Taiwan. The list of useful references, take a picture because it's not going to be here very long, and they're the sources that you probably already know: Bart Kilpatrick, Learning with the Loads Off, the Field Guide to Sponsored Films, Beverly Singer, and so forth. And most importantly, possibly, Linda Tudor Smith, Decolonizing Methodologies, Research in Indigenous Peoples. An absolute necessity for a project like this. Before we pop over to the new Mukurtu site, I just want to say thank you to EMEA, a wonderful community of practice. This project would not have happened without your guidance and generosity of information and spirit of collegiality. So thank you, EMEA.
Dollman. I'm the board, and I'm also the project manager for this. And this is kind of the 10-minute tech portion. I am the project manager. My role started out as the media and metadata manager, but as the project progressed, I sort of took on additional site management responsibilities generally. I'm using my time today, again, as a quick tech run-through for implementing larger AV files on the Mukurtu content management system. I didn't sleep really well last night, so I'm going to read my notes. But I wanted to start. I was actually encouraged by Jennifer O'Neill this morning. It's not about me, but I thought I am the daughter of my mother and a great-grandmother and grandmother and several generations back of enrolled into Indians from South Africa. That little red spot's really fun. And that's my grandmother at the Genoa Indian School and a bunch of relatives. And I won't take time to go into right now, but I love them, and this is good. So, our original site was on the University of Arizona servers, and we moved over to Reclaim hosting, essentially to ensure the university couldn't assert any rights control over the content. The films may be in the public domain, but the newly recorded narrations are not, although they are open access. Financially, that change to shared hosting costs about $120 a year for Vimeo Pro and $100 a year for 100 gigabytes of storage and domain registration on Reclaim. Issues we encountered after we switched. So I kind of broke Mukurtu for a second, not really, but our project did present an issue, however, that required putting our heads together with IT support on both sides. The lovely Michael Wynn, another IT guy named Steve on the University of Washington staff for Mukurtu. In particular, was very helpful, and the Reclaim guys, to a certain extent. But because we paid to have these films rescanned, we wanted good quality access copies to stream from within Mukurtu's content management system. And while the project was on the university server, we could do just that, up to 1.5 gigabyte without any issues. But when we went to shared hosting on Reclaim, we found that the hard way, and by that I mean they don't document this anywhere on their site. That even though we bought plenty of server space, they limit the size of the videos that can stream to 250 megabytes. Of course, that reduces the quality of image quite a bit when it comes to any films over 12 to 15 minutes. We tried FTPing and batch uploading the large files directly into the backend server side video folders, and unexpectedly got Reclaim's dreaded max execution time for a PHP process, the error message. So we went the Vimeo route, meaning rather than streaming videos from our Reclaim server, we have to stream them through Vimeo, and from video through the Mukurtu interface. So while we don't pay for Mukurtu, we do pay for Vimeo Reclaim from grant dollars. And then I guess Jennifer's after that. It works out to, as I mentioned, $200, $300 a year. I fought pretty hard against going the Vimeo route until we just had to. I came around because in Vimeo you can really secure as things can be on the internet videos, so they aren't open to the public except through Mukurtu. Then culturally sensitive materials can be locked down by community, clan, or special groups. If we run into an issue where only medicine men can see a particular film. The audio clips are in the content management system, however, on our hosted server. This is kind of some back-end images. This is, I'm just going to walk you really quickly how you sort of easily upload and secure videos on the site. So here we are. There's the little widget on the side for uploading. Then they actually have a nice selection of ways that you can upload through other sites. This is a mock-up unrelated video, but I wanted you to show that basically you grab the URL from right there, and you put it in there, and it comes in there, and it draws the thumbnail directly from whatever thumbnail you've chosen from Vimeo, so you don't have to go through the additional task of then creating another thumbnail. So it just grabs whatever thumbnail you chose from there, as you see there. So this is what they call it an atom. So any kind of media asset we bring in the system, they call it an atom. It can be audio, images, documents, digitized documents. And so when you bring those things in, you get this screen, and as you can see, the same thumbnail came in like this. And then it rewards you with, yes, you did it right. And then you drag, so that brings that, yes, you did it right. And then you immediately see it right beneath that, and then you just take it and you drag it over into the media asset section. This is the sort of before save view, the one that we always love. Then this is the Mukurtu dashboard, so you immediately can start going back in and editing if that's out there or go on another task. Okay, so more importantly for the kind of idea of repatriation, I'll quickly show you how to secure or hide the videos so that they comply with community standards, whatever community standards they've chosen. Again, we had to, in order to do this, we had to choose Vimeo Pro. These features are not part of the free Vimeo, so you really do have to buy in. This is the only thing that the public can't see it. This is your view once you've successfully uploaded, and it tells you, there's several little indicators here that you've secured this video. Here are the settings for locking it down. You can you say, I don't want anyone to comment. You can say don't. Nobody. Where can this be embedded? It can be embedded nowhere. You can dictate a special domain. I also found it useful, especially since we're working with multiple tribal communities, to use these things called showcases. You can also sort of apply these security measures to the showcase itself. Hide from Vimeo, so they're not findable through Vimeo, or you can Google to find it. And I also thought it was really important to create a preset for embedding. So I just created saying because of this preset that I've made, this is the view that you get. And so in the bottom right-hand corner, even within the system, within Mukurtu, which I'll show you, when you click on that, it's just a loop, but it just brings you right back into Mukurtu. So you can't, there's really no way to find it through there. You have to get it there through Mukurtu. Here are the protocols that each community can set up. And right now we sort of have the basic ones that are like open and restricted. But for the one film I mentioned about the Midcentury, that particular community, then once a community is identified, then only those people will be able to see that video. And really quickly, same thing with audio. We directly upload. So this is how we do that. This is the kind of direct upload screen. It's probably not too dissimilar. And if you ever use Triple, this is Triple. In this case, I did have to, because for the audio file, I did have to create a thumbnail. In the thumbnail itself, I embedded the instructions for how to use the page. So that's another way of working around that. But, oops, sorry. So a quick note on metadata, description, and traditional knowledge TK labels. And this is something that's, TK labels, as you will see in another panel, that can be utilized in other content management systems and other environments. This is how they are used in Mukurtu. So, this is what a page looks like. This is Navajo from 1945. Because I used to be moving image cataloger, I found shot listing to be quite useful for me for two reasons. One, once I've shot listed, and shot listing meaning that you describe the action with minimal commentary or guesswork about what you're describing, unless it's explicitly backed up. And that contextualization comes from the new community-based narrator. So you don't contextualize anything unless it's been clearly, identified for you. You let other people contextualize that stuff for you. There are also, I also thought the shot listing would be really good for web accessibility for the seeing impaired. Screen readers can describe the action before a sight impaired user listens to the newly recorded counter narratives or to the narration of the video itself, because there's a voice guide. A screen reader can read this. So that was another reason for going about it. I also knew this, and it helps me develop keywords, and also some of those keywords then feed the dictionary. I'm not going to have a lot of time to show you the dictionary today, but then when I develop keywords, I also double check them with Rhiannon. I've looked up in Diné dictionaries. This is the word for this, and then I had her double check everything so that I wasn't taking any liberties. The TK labels are the traditional. In this case, because this is one that has been re-narrated, I chose this one. Verified label. The label affirms that their representation and presentation of this material is in keeping with community expectations and cultural protocols. And so again, I talked to Rhiannon about this. If it's been counter-narrated, can we attach this label? And then in another situation, in Sakai and Demon Film, which we haven't had narrated yet, in this case, I applied this one. This is an encouragement. Please come narrate this if you were just a casual user who comes upon this. And this says it's not been verified. So you have like a quick visual identifier that says, this is proceed with caution. Let's see here. And really briefly, I'll show you how the site works. This doesn't really matter, but of course, with all the technology. So, when a person opens this actually, this has more stuff on it. In this case, what I tell people to do when they first, however, obviously users can do whatever they want, but the most straightforward way to do this is if you just want to watch the film. There's a traditional narration that you can imagine and it just proceeds, but what I suggest people do actually is come over here, turn this volume down, start the film, because there's always that little lag time at the beginning because of this late. Start this. So as an example, because I don't have a lot of time, In this case, Cindy and Perry Slivers were interviewed by Rhiannon. She recorded, and this particular one is in Diné. So, and other ones are in English. So I think it's magical that you can come to the site and they count narrations in a language that is not your own. And I think that's really, the Slivers I think did mostly in just in Diné. So that's how the site works. And the website. There's some information about Tribesourcing, Burgadoo, local context for TK labels, and you're always welcome to email me for any questions. I'm just doing the drive-through with the text, so I'm happy to answer any questions. I want to introduce from Diné College Library, Rhiannon Sorrell, who is the person who's been going around and researching these narrations and finding people, and also Crystal Littleben, who did run the narrations, and she's from the Navajo Cultural Arts Program. And so, please.
Diné Rhiannon Sorrell my name is Rhiannon Sorrell. I am not an archivist. I do not have a strong background in archiving. I am a librarian, though. I work at the Diné College Library in Saley, Arizona. And my attraction to this project started way back when I was in graduate school, and I was in graduate school, and I started with this project when they first started with AIFG at the Arizona website. And now I am working with the community because as a tribal librarian, the focus has been shifting away from traditional, what people think is more conventional Western knowledge, Western forms of knowledge, with a strong focus on print materials, on monographs, written knowledge again by non-natives, observing natives. And my background is strongly in teaching. I specialize in information literacy instruction at the college. I teach research sessions at the college to students. And the focus now has been shifting strongly toward community, toward indigenous knowledge, away from monographs. There's been a strong demand from the community on native language resources, especially Navajo language resources that aren't necessarily print. These resources that are in demand are stuff like this: visual materials, audio materials, that are strongly desired and encouraged by not just our local community, but also within the schools. The Navajo is a Navajo language immersion program that aims to revitalize the language with children starting K through 5 and immersing them into the language. And there's a strong desire for materials. And the Diné College has worked with the Diné Studies program to form talking books for their students. And now there's been a stronger demand for these types of audio-visual resources to be used within a classroom setting. So with that, my purpose in this project has been to work with my own community in order to capture a lot of this information, stuff that we consider traditional knowledge that has its origins in our own culture. And a lot of the resources that they see on there, when I play them right off the bat with the English narration, the reaction is a lot of laughter. Some of it is like, which in Navajo is just pretty much like, what the? But they kind of get distracted by that. But if you turn off the audio and it's just playing there, a lot of the people viewing it stop and they start talking. If they're viewing it either by themselves, then they start talking to me about it or what they're seeing. If they're watching it with a partner or like a husband and spouse, as in the case of Cindy and Perry, they start talking to each other about what they're seeing. And we want them to just share what they see. I've gone beyond just saying like, talk about this, talk about this. It's more like, and it's not even coming from, talk about this as if you were explaining it to a non-Navajo person. If anything, now I've gone from that to this perspective of, if you were talking to your children or your grandchildren about this video, about what you're seeing here, what would you tell them? And a lot of them, especially the grandparents, say talk exactly as they would talk to their grandchildren. They talk to me like I'm their grandchild, and they're explaining something to me. A lot of the younger parents have an emphasis on talking about, I want this to be available for my children when I'm older. So this is what I tell my children and what my grandmother, my grandparents told me about this that I'm seeing here. So with that, I want to turn over to Shadeja, my sister, Littleben, who is one of our community representatives. She's vetted both within the general community at Salem, but also in our broader Navajo community, and also within our academic community at Diné College as part of the Navajo Cultural Arts program.
Hello everyone. Littleben Inishia. Kintlachini Nishle, my Edish Gijni Bashichin, Bipatwani, Dashiche Auto Betani, Dashinella. Nale Sali did in that college a Banashnisto Navajo Cultural Arts program, Banashnisto program coordinator in Nishlen. Hello everyone, I am of the Red House clan, born for the Coyote Pass clan, and my maternal grandfather's clan are the Deer Springs clan, and my paternal grandfather's clan are the Under His Cover clan. And I'm originally from Tuba City, but I grew up in Round Rock, Arizona, and Round Rock is only about 15 minutes from Saley. And I currently work at Diné College. I'm the program coordinator for the Navajo Cultural Arts program. So we are not only a community-based program, we're grant funded, but we also reach out academically. We're actually in charge of three programs right now. The first one is we have a certificate program. We bring in students as cohorts. Every year, 2 semesters, they get to go to school for their emphasis, which we have 5 now in the program, which is moccasin making, silversmithing, Navajo basket weaving, Navajo rug weaving, and Navajo pottery making. So we have students in our cohort right now. We're actually on our 5th cohort, and so we've graduated about almost 30 students so far. And only 2 semesters out of their whole life, and they get to graduate with that. And in addition to that, they go on and they become entrepreneurs. Some of our students have actually left their full-time jobs to become full-time artists. And we've actually had students who took home Best of Show at the Heard Museum at the Guild. So we have students like that. But we also have now a BFA program, a Bachelor of Fine Arts program in Navajo silversmithing and Navajo rug weaving, and that's only offered at Diné College, and that's something that's very unique out there. And then we also have a dual credit program where we invite local high school students to be a part of our program as well. And when Rhiannon asked me about to join this project, I was actually really excited about it. But I didn't really know what I was getting myself into until she showed me the videos. And she's not lying, we did laugh, and I did say, Hati, what's going on here? What are they talking about? And so it felt really nice, and to kind of, she just told me that just to talk about what's going on. Because I did start to notice familiar places. I was like, that must be that place. I was like, oh, this is what they're doing. And I have more of a cultural arts background. I silversmith. I grew up in a family who are really embedded with the cultural arts. My father's a moccasin maker. I have a bunch of aunts that are basket weavers, again, moccasin makers as well, and rug weavers. So I have a huge strong background in that, and so that's why I love what I do for the Navajo Culture Arts program. And so a lot of the videos that I have narrated are related to Navajo culture arts and are related to silversmithing or anything that I could find that I feel like that I have enough knowledge and to narrate of. And I'm also a fluent speaker of Navajo language. I understand Navajo and I also can speak and write Navajo as well. And so I felt like this was a really great opportunity to be a part of the community and reach out to the community in that way. And in addition to that, we do have our program recently launched a Navajo language series relating to the Navajo culture arts. So every month, starting this month, we have a theme of culture arts. This month is moccasin making, and next month is going to be basket weaving. So it's a more, every week we launch a video every Wednesday. So, and each week it progresses. It goes from beginner, and at the end it'll be like an expert level, and it'll be accompanied by songs and prayers and everything in that too. And also, going back to songs and prayers, when I saw some of the videos that were about sand painting, were about sings in those videos, those are things that I didn't want to watch it because I am not a medicine woman or a medicine man to be viewing those videos. And that's what they mean by restricting certain videos. Like my father, he's a medicine man, he can view those videos. He does sand painting ceremonies, he knows the songs, he knows how to protect himself in that way. So there's things like that through these videos being public out there, our Navajo, our Diné people who have no knowledge that they shouldn't be viewing this, that's our way of protecting them from that, because either way, we're Diné and we're still have that lineage and it can still affect us in that way. So that's one way that these guys are trying to prevent that. So those kind of videos, they're being restricted, and I feel like not a lot of people understand that. That a lot of our ceremonies are not viewable even for our own people, unless you have been initiated, you know the songs for that too. And it's a great project, and I'm looking forward to narrating more. And I just wanted to show like a quick thing that our program has been doing, because we're going to be archiving this as well. I'm not anything related to library or I'm not an archivist or anything, but we would like this to be saved.
So one of the things that Cultural Arts Program does is they really collaborate with us at the library. Since we are a community resource, we offer various types of cultural arts workshop available to the community. So the Cultural Arts Program is a partnership that we do together in order to bring this intergenerational transfer of knowledge, particularly with regard to the cultural arts.
Yes. Okay. So we have our archive segments here. So we started it with this month, and this month is November, so it's moccasin making. And so we have this, and it's on YouTube, and this is where you can view it. This is my father, by the way. He's singing us.
Welcome to Navajo Cultural Arts Language Series Day
And that's Christine Ami, Dr. Christine Ami. She's the grant manager of our Navajo Cultural
Arts Arizona. Before we get started, we want to go through some key vocabulary and phrases that you may hear throughout our conversation.
I wear my moccasins every day.
So that's just a quick glimpse of what we're doing, and also we're working with the library as well. We do have free workshops, First Friday series that we've been working with the libraries at Diné College, and they're free due to our grant as well. And yeah, and that's all I can
about right now.
Just one last thing that, as you can see, us Navajos, we just take these things and hijack it and run with it. So we just incorporated all of this, into, again, providing these resources to our own community. Go ahead.
Just because I late start, I just thought I'd really quickly pull her up for 5 minutes. Well, why don't we take questions of you, the one who and stuff, or the site, and I can talk with the
Hi, thank you so much. I don't know if this is working, I'll just speak up, but I was just curious if you found any images in the films that were problematic, as well as the voiceover being problematic. I mean, you had talked in the beginning about...
Hello?
Oh,
sorry. Can you repeat the question so she can hear?
sure. Yeah, I was wondering if any of you working on the project, in addition to the problematic voiceover, found anything in the imagery of the films that was problematic, and if so, how did you deal with that, or how would you, if that was part of the project, can you imagine ways that you would work on decolonizing the images as well as the sound?
Sure. Okay, so, well, there are, as you might expect, some incredibly racist films that really need serious decolonizing and rebuttals from within the culture. So, in most cases, the imagery remains, I'm not going to say respectful, but at least somewhat neutral, while the narration is what really needs taken down. But Rhiannon, I imagine, has things to say about owls.
Yeah, there is actually, like Jennifer said, majority of the narrative part of it is really offensive, where they use the outdated terminology. But some of the images without context can, to a casual Navajo viewer, will actually immediately make them like, I don't know if I should be watching this. One of them was actually a film called The Navajo Demon, having to do with owls. And in Navajo culture, owls are considered a type of omens along with coyotes. So, it was depicting this Navajo family, living with an owl, which is not normal, not everyone's like, we don't do that, But it was weird because when I was showing them to some people, there were actually a few students and community members were able to lend some kind of explanation to it. Like, again, maybe the family was doing a ceremony, because there was this one image that I didn't catch where the guy was blowing smoke in the owl's wings, which was more, I don't know, I have no idea what ceremony or what that has to do with, but it has something to do with that. But when I was talking to Jennifer about the appropriateness of viewing a few of these films like in public, the measure I used was, if I went to our local IHS waiting room and put these films up, would I feel comfortable, would the people be comfortable, would I feel comfortable putting these up for viewing without sound, for example? So taking immediately the most offensive component of it, which is the narration, but imagery, would I be comfortable putting that up in our local hospital waiting room, with elders and stuff like that? So that kind of became my measure. Some of them were, again, like Crystal said, ceremonial, well, not offensive, but they should not be viewed in public by the general public. And then some of them were anthropological, where they were mainly showing daily activities like silversmithing, sheep herding, going to the trading post and that sort of thing. Whereas everyone can kind of get like a nostalgic, oh yeah, remember when we used to do that, and so on and so on. So that became kind of like our measure for what would be deemed offensive as far as imagery goes.
So if there are materials in our archives that we think that might be of interest to communities to have added in the video, who do I communicate?
How do you get started with Mukurtu, essentially?
Well, I mean, if I'm ready to deliver digital files for a project to ingest,
Mm-hmm.
do I reach out to you?
For this project?
Yeah.
Yeah, me.
Okay.
Or then Jennifer, as far as both of us. Yeah, I mean, I would be literally one doing importing them into Mukurtu, but the conversation to start with, well, at least with Jennifer, conceptually, you know, like for the overall project, you know what I mean? But yeah, and then I would be able to do the work.
Thank you so much. I was wondering if you could talk about the decision to keep the audio file separate from the video instead of creating a video with the audio, with the new audio rather than the video. Does that make sense?
So one of the reasons why we didn't make a whole new video with audio is because our narrators, we don't want to restrict them. A lot of the films are only about 10 minutes long, and Jennifer will probably tell you a story about a couple of her elders that narrated a 10-minute film and how that went. But we don't want to limit what they say. We don't want to tell them like, okay, you got to talk about this here, or you know, your time's running out, you need to wrap it up. You just want them to talk. So sometimes, like my narrators, for example, I had a young couple that narrated it. You know, it was only a 12-minute film. They ended up talking for like an hour and 20 minutes because they're like, pause it here, you know, and that they just kind of wanted to talk about what they just saw, and they go on for I don't know how long, but you don't want to restrict whatever they're saying just so it times up with your video. So you just kind of like, we're keeping track of like little time markers of where he said stop and everything like that, and wanting to figure out or working on figuring out how to put that in the notes. But it all kind of comes down to not wanting to restrict our narrators or their voices when we do these recordings.
And I would just piggyback on that and say that, yeah, the original proof of concept as we did with the Tahona Atam was an 11-minute film, and they talked for about an hour and a half. And it is totally inappropriate and not my place to edit any of that. So that's part of it. The other thing is that scrubbing the original audio would really be problematic. I mean, that's erasing history, and it decontextualizes why this project is necessary. People can choose to go straight to the native narrations, and I think that's totally awesome. If kids think that's all there is, then they're not seeing the need for the native narrations that correct the historical record. So there's that dimension of it as well.
Thank you very much for this project. It's meant a great deal to especially a native student of mine. We have, like many archives, where we have many home movies of native people and native communities shot by white tourists, and we don't publicly expose this material because we don't know the ways in which it might be sensitive. But I'm wondering if this at some point might be a framework for these home movies to be decolonized and to be work with tribal members for their possible historical usefulness.
Absolutely, and Melissa and I are nodding back and forth to each other.
Excited, yeah. Yeah, we just added a home movie. Can you tell me how you got
So at Home Movie Day 2018, a collector came in with a little, 8mm reel and said, well, I found this on eBay, but I know you're doing this other project, and I wonder if you want it. And it was actually one of the Arizona contributions to the 24-hour Home Movie Day and Night, and you can find it up there. End of part 1, right about 7 hours and 30 minutes in. But we need to bring that back to the community and have people talk about it as well. It's a weaving film, so doubtful that there's sensitive content there. But whatever you got, let's talk about it. There are all sorts of ways to return this kind of material to the communities in which it was captured. So, and thank you for the question.
We have to wrap up, but I forget which feature film it was or what completed film. We got some B-roll and outtakes, which I just was, as I was uploading them, I didn't have time to really go through them completely, but you saw the what he was exchanging for the right to film. Like I saw him like giving foodstuffs out to the family who then are in the final. So I thought that was fascinating. Sorry. Oh, okay, who has our next speaker? So I'll let him ask the next question. The last question, I think.
Thank you all for that. It's just a recollection which sprang to mind with the last question about how much material do you actually record in terms of narration. And I was reminding Pam that many years ago when the anthropologist Colin Turnbull came into the Human Studies Film Archive of the Smithsonian in order to narrate and annotate in audio the films that he had made of the wounded pygmies, that he recorded hours and hours of materials. And it wasn't tied frame to frame or synced up with the exact materials, but in point of fact, it was a stream of consciousness recollection of an anthropologist who spent a lot of time. And I used that material instead of editing in, subsequently for a class project that I did at the University of Texas at Austin. All of that material was available. And what he said outside of the frame of the film was as significant because obviously when you talk about materials, every frame like brings up an association or a scene, brings up an association with another scene. I think all of that, to the extent that you can capture it, whether it's 2 hours, an hour and 12 minutes, or 7 hours, if you have the stamina and the storage space for it, I'd say that's a very commendable in part to capture all of that material. I think that's all goes in towards a generative power of film, because a film doesn't stand by itself, right? No media stands by itself. It has, it brings up, activates community memory, activates individual memory, and adds to the story of community history, which is, you're not going to have too many shots of capturing that stuff, so you're going to be commended for doing it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I hate to wrap up, but we must. So thank you for coming. Thank you for the speakers and Jennifer.
Do we have some cards for you guys to see up there? Sure, Mike.
Yeah.